What shall we talk about today?
Well, so the other day I was watching this video, and it doesn't matter what, but this guy made a kind of a statement during a part of a conversation where he said, "Imagine the world if knowledge was shared and not sold." And I thought, yeah, that's a
Mm.
that's a really interesting thing, because I mean that's really goes in line with my own personal beliefs. Information should be free, as in freedom, and in free beer, I guess, right? Like you shouldn't have
Right.
to pay for it to share information, and people should be giving of knowledge, because it's like you don't. It doesn't need to be a secret, right?
Right. Like, I do understand some things that, took a lot of research or a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
You want some kind of compensation for that. Um, but, uh, and I mean, we talked recently in Lightning Strikes Twice about software piracy
Mm-hmm.
and how that's starting to become a little bit less unethical
Mm-hmm.
because of the whole subscription based access to software programs that you used to just be able to buy a copy of.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have already bought a copy, you should just have a license to use it every month, kind of grandfathered in. But no, of course not.
Well, that is how it used to be. Like
Well,
even
sometimes, but
when you bought music, it's like you buy a CD or a vinyl or whatever. You didn't buy the music. You bought a license to play it. Like
Mhm.
that's basically it, a personal
Well,
license.
and after all the Napster thing, they even kind of like changed the law. So, like, when you buy a CD, you have the right to make one digital copy.
Yep.
So it's like totally legal for you to burn a
Mhm.
CD that you take in your car, so it doesn't get all scratched up and you have to go
Exactly.
buy a new one.
You can make a backup essentially,
Yeah.
which also applies to software as well, and like game cartridges, right? Like if you have a cartridge, you can actually make a ROM dump of it, as long as
Hmm.
you have the cartridge to begin with, because that's your digital backup.
Yeah. I mean, all of this was made possible by the internet. So I think if we weren't where we are today with connectivity,
Mm-hmm.
it would still be functioning as just a normal commerce item. Like, here's the software we made. This is what we've decided to sell it for. You can pay for it or not.
Yeah, well, actually, I wouldn't say necessarily, or like definitely only the internet, but the digital realm,
Right, right.
where we can, it doesn't, basically you hit Control C and Control V. That's the effort you have to do to make another one of it. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't, you don't need a factory that's building another physical thing. You're
Well,
just,
even in the early days, well, maybe this is still around, but you remember Shareware?
yeah, yep.
Is that still around?
I think it is. It's kind of, yeah, what the way that worked, because maybe some people didn't experience that. So shareware, say like a company, well, a good example would be Doom, actually. The id Software's Doom. It was released as shareware. So the first section was packaged up. So like you couldn't play through the entire game within this package, but you could play like the first 20 levels or something like that. And you could trade that for free. You could release it, you could copy it, you could put it on floppies, put it up on BBSs, whatever you want to do, no problem. Because the point was, it was free advertising essentially. So
Right.
when you played the game and you're like, damn, this game is awesome, they would advertise within the game, like, hey, you want to get the new one or the expansion packs and stuff, just go ahead and call this number or whatever,
Mhm.
and you could buy them. So that was an extremely effective model. Actually, I lived through the time prior to shareware being a thing and after, and I can definitely tell you that prior to shareware, software distribution was entirely different. It was very rudimentary, much like any other product. But after shareware came onto the scene, it was like the proliferation and the ease of
Yeah.
releasing your own software. Um, these tiny little companies, like id Software, was just basically a couple people in a house, I think. And now, well, it became obviously massive,
Yeah.
and it was due to that. Like,
I think that's still a good business model.
mm-hmm.
Actually, I mean, it still works with drug dealers, right? Like
Yeah.
first time's free, man.
And in modern and mobile stuff, there's a lot of like free with ads games.
Mhm.
It's like, and you know, yeah, it's a little bit annoying because it's like kind of interrupts the flow, but still, you don't have to pay for it. Although usually they have an option to buy one, and it's not that much money. Um, and I think that's a pretty good model too. Like it's the whole try before you buy thing. You know, it's like, uh, remember the video game rental places
Yeah.
where you could go and rent a game, and then of course you could go down the street to the store where they sell the game if you really
Mhm.
liked it. So you
Yeah.
because it's like you never know what you're getting yourself into. Maybe the game sucks and you're like, oh man, and then but you could avoid all that and
The
end up,
library, like
yeah,
you can check out games from the library
yeah.
nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Music's another one of those things that, like,
Mm-hmm.
for a long time, you could go get a CD
Yeah.
or even a tape back in the day,
Yep.
and you could just take it home and tape it and have it for free,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody was ever busting down your door,
Nope.
you know.
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of things that uh, tapes basically back in the day that I rented from the library, and I loved them so much. I mean, I did make a copy, but the copy kind of sucked.
Yeah.
And then when I saw the album for sale, I'm like, oh, yeah, I want the OG version of that.
Yep. Yeah.
I would buy it. In
Yeah,
fact,
me
it
too.
effect with Napster, because it was basically you could just download for free whatever the hell you wanted. People downloaded everything, and so, but they would discover these bands that they would never hear from before,
Hmm.
and then people would end up buying, even if they had the MP3s, they'd still buy the CD.
They could have made a better argument for that if there was like some option to make effectively a mixtape or something,
Yeah.
you know. So like in order to get the song you're looking for, you have to download a package of songs, and
Mm-hmm.
then you're being exposed to like other artists, and
Yeah.
like,
Compilation. Uh,
yeah, and if that had been the angle that they went with,
mm.
I don't think there would be any reason to treat Napster differently than the library.
No, and in fact, you'd find bands really trying hard to get into these albums and put their
Exactly.
best song in there, so people are like, "Oh shit, that band, they're so good," and then they dig up the album
Yeah,
and
I mean, now
buy
that's a
it.
Spotify playlist.
Yeah,
So, you know, like
yeah,
it
exactly.
is something that is already being used, but like I think people underestimate like how important that is.
Oh yeah, well, even if you look at YouTube, right? YouTube Music or just YouTube in general, a lot of times there will be some song or a music video from an artist, and you'll see underneath it either albums that you can buy or they're touring. So hey, tickets to go see them in concert here, there, and
Yeah.
there, and like
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, this freebie that they're handing out essentially. Well, that gets people's attention and encourages them to go see the concert or buy their merch or something like that.
Yeah.
And because you don't necessarily have to, you don't have to buy it. Well, because if you had to buy everything that you listen to, right, you'd be less inclined to buy anything because it's like, well, I don't know if it's good or not. You know,
Exactly.
is that a good? I mean, maybe the cover is cool looking or something or whatever, but you don't know what you're getting into, and especially when you're young, that represents a substantial amount of money.
Yeah.
Albums or movies or whatever, it's a lot of money. So you have to use your money wisely. So you're only going to buy things that you're sure of versus
Yeah.
when you can get some of it for free. Well, there's nothing lost, right? you
Yeah.
get it, and if you like it, like, oh shit, well, that's great. That's I you know, you would never have bought that before, but now you love it.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah. I mean, but as far as like, let's say with, outside the realm of software and music,
Mhm.
drug companies, right?
Yeah.
Um, so they'll spend hundreds of millions on one product, all the eggs in the basket. It might not even pass the phase 3 clinical trials.
In fact, I think
And
most doesn't.
yeah, so like you burn a lot of money
Mhm.
just to be in business.
Yeah.
And then when you finally have something come out, you have to recoup that somehow. The problem with that is like the ethical quandary of like charging people a whole bunch of money to help them with this terrible illness that they're having to deal with.
Mhm.
And like
Well,
enter
here's
insurance companies, it's like, oh, well, if insurance just covered it,
and
because
that
that's what they're there for, it would be fine and dandy, but they don't
well,
do that so easily. And that's why their CEOs get shot.
and that I mean that entire system is a big fat mess.
It
Uh,
is.
in the US and in many other places.
Mm-hmm.
It well, so
But it does make sense that it exists, though, for the reasons I stated, like just this sheer amount of money that research eats
Mhm.
up.
Oh no, I totally get it. And it's very valuable. Obviously, like who else is gonna fork out millions and millions of dollars except these big companies? Obviously, you and I can't do that. We don't have the
Right.
resources. I mean, you could probably crowdfund something like that, but that'd be
Now,
tricky.
if you
Uh,
applied the same try it and then buy it
mhm.
philosophy, though, like if it were required for, let's say, Bayer to uh, provide free to the insurance company the
Mhm.
first time somebody is prescribed something,
Mhm.
because they may not actually end up taking it anyway.
That's
It
true.
might have a weird, funky side effect, or it doesn't have the intended effect, or whatever.
Like when
They may
you
not
go into
take it.
Costco and you get a sample of something, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So if you just do that for free, fine. Chances are they will continue taking it. And after that, from every refill on, then the insurance company can pay the researchers.
Yeah,
And
yeah. And I well, a thought came up when you were talking because it's like, um, well, oh boy, this is how do I explain this? Because it's very clear in my head, but I'm not exactly sure how to turn it into words.
I'd
Um,
rather have a cogent paradigm.
um, so like, okay, these companies put a lot on the line, whether it be money or their properties or what, a lot of employees. Well, I mean, it's all money basically at the end of the day. A lot of resources on the line and time to develop something. And if it turns out to be life saving, well, so a novel life saving drug, right?
Yeah.
Well, to say, oh, well, that's ours now because it's life saving, because now it saves my life and you should just get it without any compensation. I think that's a little unfair because it's like, well, hey, if I didn't invent this, this would not exist to save your life, right? Like I'm
Hmm.
the one that came up with the idea. So, you do have a little bit of weight there. And even though it's like, even then, I still feel like it's in the interest of humanity for information like that to be dispersed and disseminated and worked on.
Yeah.
Uh, but like I don't know, maybe like keeping a trade secret, like I guess say Coca-Cola does with the secret formula, right? You
Uh-huh.
you just compartmentalize it so well that it's really hard for people to copy it. But it's like, well, if people figure it out, hey, the gig's up. I guess we'll move on to our next project. Um,
If it were handled on a case by case basis, I think that would make a little bit more sense, rather than saying like you have 10 years to make all the profit and then it becomes generic.
mhm.
Like if you make your money back in a year, it should go generic then. Like
Well,
people will still buy from you. It's not like, you
The
know,
goal, of course, is to make your money back and then some so you can work on another project. Because it's like, where did the millions of dollars come from in the first place?
yeah.
It wasn't just magically there in the company. They
Mhm.
made a profit on something prior, and now they can apply that to a bigger project, something maybe a tougher problem, a tougher nut to crack, essentially.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important, and it's almost like what I envision is more like a crowd-funded operation, because it's like people want to help people. People want these kinds of things. It's like, even if I don't need that medication, I can see you do, right? I could see lots of people might need that, and I might donate. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'll put some money into that, because it's like, this is worthy research. This is stuff that needs to be out there. We need to solve these problems. Because
Yeah.
one day it's going to come back on me, and I'm going to be the one who
There's a,
needs help.
there's a lot of blind sight with that, like a lot of holes, things that would get missed, um, things that would need a whole lot of funding and just don't have enough attention,
Yeah.
which is even already the case.
Hmm.
And like
Well, that's where.
that's a good, thing to just have in general at all times as kind of like an extra boost. But
Well,
there's no,
I see it. The solution is more like a hybrid system where there's a whole bunch of different things all working
yeah,
together for the common goal.
yeah,
And maybe what you could also have is some kind of charity organization, right? That where people donate to the organization, like well, there's a whole bunch of them out there for like children and stuff, throughout the world, and medical research, cancer
mhm,
research involving kids. And it's like, well, they take all that money and put it together and put it towards a variety of different things to be worked on to solve this particular thing. So
that makes more sense,
yeah.
right? Because the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. When you
Yeah.
have something like that, like a centralized charity that
Hmm.
can take in all this charitable donations,
Hmm.
they could then make that money work
Yeah.
and generate interest through investments and so on,
Yep.
and put money into the economy and so on and so forth, and then be like, okay, we need to sell these investments and put the money into this thing and that
Hmm.
thing, and
and
whatever.
and what would be great too is that takes the risk from the smaller companies doing these projects, development of something, where, oh, we just basically get a grant from this organization to do this wild harebrained thing. Okay, well, why don't we? And the big organization can swallow up a failure, because it's like, all right, well, we still have money flowing in, there's all these other things that are working. um, and and of course, if you're successful enough, people, that just feeds the fire, where more and more people are like, wow, they're doing so much good. I need to give to these organizations, because look at the difference they're making. And
Yeah, I wonder if most people understand what it means to write charitable stuff off of your taxes,
mhm,
because so many people complain, I'm so mad that my tax money goes to war or
mhm.
other people's health or whatever it is that that particular person is pissed about their tax money being,
Yeah,
right?
everybody's got their own particular desires. And
But if you donate that money and
mm,
write it off, you're effectively taking the money away from the war, whatever.
yeah.
You can always see it that way.
Hmm.
But even if they do understand that, I wonder if they're actually like, yeah, but then I'm like giving it away still. Like the point is they want the money, they don't want the worldwide benefit from their contribution.
I think there's a lot of people who do
That's
want
that's
that.
why I think crowdfunding wouldn't work by itself, because most people
No.
aren't actually charitable for
Well,
altruistic reasons.
well, crowdfunding a specific project would be a challenge. And like you said, things would slip through the cracks, right? The ones that
Yeah.
didn't have the flashy graphics and all the cool advertising, they that might actually have a lot of promise,
Mm.
but they just don't have the budget to get the attention they need. But see, that's where you could pitch one of these larger charitable organizations your idea and be like, look, here's we're pretty confident we can make this work, and it's going to have this effect or whatever, and of course that's their sole purpose is basically to be a charity and fund these things. I mean, even have that with space as well. But like obviously early days going to space was stupidly expensive, and it was also like at the in the 60s and stuff, people didn't even know if it would even really work. So it's like, oh well, this is potentially billions of dollars down the toilet for something that may or may not work. But now it's getting cheaper and cheaper, and I could see that we could pretty much have it almost like in the private sector, because, well, one, there's a lot of research to be done still. There's a lot of people who are just really excited about space and exploration. Obviously, there's one percenters dumping money into these projects because they're just like, well, this is cool. And see, even something as not necessarily world changing as space travel, people are really into that. And so, but that's the important thing, and this is what this kind of scenario that I'm envisioning here and that we're discussing allows for there not to be any need to really control your IP, to control that knowledge. It's actually, you want to share that knowledge more at that point because it doesn't really benefit you to keep it a secret anymore. And
I mean, like, if here's an example of things that I would do if I were a multi-billionaire. I would, let's say Bayer invents a cure for cancer. And they're like, we're gonna make trillions of dollars over the next 10 years. I would be like, hey, I'm gonna buy your IP. And then I would disseminate it. Like I'd be like, hey, you got your money back, you recouped it. I even threw in a little bonus so you have some extra money and you can keep doing other things. But now it's going to become cheap for everybody.
You could basically make it public domain at that point. And that's like great.
That's like, space exploration is cool and could potentially in a very far future be very important. But the things that are super important right now are completely being overlooked. Like that's billionaires need to be Batmans, like, and you don't have to like physically punch criminals. You can do nice things for the world.
Exactly. Well, and I would see space exploration, or at least like the local space programs and stuff, as being beneficial because it turns out that it all kind of turns into a global effort, and it like everybody's kind of got to work together. You can't be a one-man band and do any kind of big thing in space. So and I think it does bring people together in a way that not many other things can. So there is a benefit there in that sense, because it's like, me here in Tacoma can watch the latest SpaceX launch, but also somebody in Africa could be seeing that, and everybody could see, oh wow, look at these satellites and these space stations and these things. It's like, I want to be a part of that, and it really is a part of all of us because now it's in orbit or something. So there's a benefit there, and maybe just doing something remarkable, right? Like putting a colony on the moon or on Mars or Venus or whatever. Like that is not just one small team's achievement. It's an achievement for humanity. So that, in a sense, could bring people together. But you're right. There are some more pressing things that I think should be attended to first. And I think government gets in the way of it because so much money is burned on stupid shit like warfare, and other just wasteful systems that just gobble up money and do nothing. Like Pac-Man, just like just taking resources and producing absolutely nothing out of it. Whereas, of course, if it were a company, you have to produce something, right? There's got to be a result of all those resources and all that effort. You can't get away with that.
Yeah, like, I think that would be a good idea, like for so-called philanthropists to make their goal be like making knowledge
Mm-hmm.
freely available,
Yeah.
in whatever way they can.
Well,
Obviously, you can't just like snap your fingers and it's completely free all over the world or
mm-hmm.
anything like that. But that,
No, but
for instance, curing cancer would be
yeah,
something super important
to,
for the
to
entire world.
to where it's like initially it would have been prohibitively expensive for most people because it's all controlled by one organization. But once it's public domain, well, anybody can make it.
Yeah.
So you're going to have companies all around the world trying to create their version of it and maybe even making improvements on it. So it's like maybe the one that they had was kind of shitty and sort of worked, but then somebody takes all of that knowledge, all that research, and they're like, wait a minute, I can make this 10 times better and also 10 times cheaper.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of effect that you could have from releasing this information.
Or the environment, for instance.
Yes.
Like you could buy up Exxon and all these
Mhm.
companies and then be like, okay, now we're going to take a different direction.
Yeah.
We're going to spend this much on what we're doing now
Mhm.
and put the rest of the resources into a cleaner energy.
Yeah.
Obviously, we won't be able to get away from fossil fuels for certain things.
Yeah. It's going to be a while no matter what. Yeah.
Yeah, but like if we can reduce it by quite a bit, that's helpful,
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
the
Well, and
only
that's
thing standing in the way of that is all the profit and the green in their eyes.
the shareholders and
Mhm.
all the executives and stuff. Well, and here's the thing about being a philanthropist too. Like, okay, sure, you're a big dog with all your money, right? But there's a lot of big dogs too. But you know how you become a rock star is changing the world for the better. Those are the
Exactly.
things that get written down in the history books. Like, no one's going to remember any of the billionaires once they're gone that just simply had money and ran a bunch of businesses and then kicked the bucket. They're going to remember the people that did something. Like, well, some of the back in the day, a lot of the big wigs, Carnegie and people like that, they took a lot of their money. Well, Nobel as well. They took a lot of their money and put it towards humanitarian things that
Right.
still to this day impact the world. And they built free libraries. The first libraries were philanthropic projects. And so it was like, yeah, they were like, hey, we're going to build these buildings and stock them full of books and you could just check them out. That's it. That's what I want to do because I want to give back and be remembered for doing something other than just running a big ass business.
Right.
And that is,
yeah, that's noble. Like,
mm-hmm.
And I think that comes with actual work and actual like blood, sweat, and tears of your own in order to earn the money that you have accumulated.
Starting from nothing, basically.
Yeah, which like today is almost non-existent, just because that wealth did, when those people died, it did get passed down, and then all these entitled generations just have a bunch of money their whole life.
Yeah, there's kind of a new form of royalty, essentially. That's just it's different, but it's basically the same thing. And that's unfortunate, but I don't know exactly how to change that. But I guess, well, okay, here's something. Just going back to like knowledge sharing and information being free. I do a lot of 3D printing. Okay. I'm really into it. Obviously, there's a 3D printer behind me. Not the best one, but hey, it's the one I have. And I love it. I love it. And there's multiple repositories of 3D printing projects and files and stuff like that. But one that's really big is called Thingiverse. And it's pretty much an open community. People upload the projects they built and then somebody will download that and they'll either print it or maybe they'll make a change, that an improvement to it, and then they'll upload that. Usually it's customary there to give credit to the originator of the design. And so you see the evolution of things in these crazy ways, and hyper fast too. It's like within a matter of days, you could have something go from a really simple idea to something revolutionary, uh,
Huh.
just because everybody's so passionate about it, and the information is just there to share, right? Like,
Mhm.
it doesn't take you more than a couple seconds to upload the files, your modded files, to share with other people. And then, of course, now you're one of the people who people download from, and they're going to be like, oh, yeah, I got that from this guy, you know?
Yeah.
And people just have a passion for that. Um, and you could see it in cosplay as well, or making replicas of movie props, where there's whole communities dedicated to sharing the information of like, oh, well, where do you get that particular thing? Or people will even go to the trouble of making it themselves to to sell or share with the community, so other people could say make like a Ghostbusters proton pack or something like that, you know?
Huh. Yeah.
And that's what you end up with when people are left to their own devices, and that when there's passion involved in
Right.
solutions. And I could see that that needs to bleed over more into like the humanitarian side of things. And I mean, it is pretty powerful even now. There's still a lot of work being done, but I think it's kind of stifled by I don't know, just too much regulation and patents and stuff like that. And I'd like to see a change in that regard, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Regulation isn't all bad. I just think it's like cookie cutter regulation
Yeah.
is what fucks things up because
Mm-hmm.
like there's no nuance to that. Like I was saying before, like a company could recoup their costs in a year
Mm-hmm.
instead of 10 years, but you treat everybody the same and say 10 year, 10 year, 10 year, 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
and like what maybe they make it something like if you recoup your money in a year, you get one more
Mm-hmm.
year and a month or something, to like make that much more, which you can then sink into a new project or something.
Well, yeah, there's definitely alternatives. There's
Yeah,
options that could be
but that
entertaining.
would still technically be a regulation,
Yeah, well, and I'm
which
not.
which would serve like a protection to the companies
Mhm.
and even leeway to make profit,
Sure.
but
Well, even
also protects the public from price gouging and stuff.
well, even as an anarchist, like, I'm not averse to the concept of regulation. It's just a matter of who does it and what they do. You can have industries create a standard system that are relevant to that particular industry, which is actually that's how they used to do things before government got involved as to the level they are. Um,
Yeah.
and you had societies and organizations that were comprised of people who did a particular thing, and they kind of got together and figured out standards and things, which, for better or worse, but it worked. It works pretty well.
I mean, things that aren't profit based are still that way. Like
Mhm.
safety regulations are often created by a company because they know exactly what is dangerous in what they're doing. And
Yes,
so they write the manual
much
like this is
more.
applicable. This is applicable. That's
Yes,
not. We don't need that. Like,
they would know far better than an
yeah.
external organization that has no contact whatsoever with that organization. And the thing is, companies actually have an interest in making things as safe as possible, because insurance and injury payouts and death payouts, like, that is the last thing. Oh, and not only that, the optics if there's a catastrophe, right?
Mhm.
400 people die because of negligence from a company. Good luck staying in business. Uh, so they definitely have an interest in making things safe, but also in being productive. I mean, there's a balance. It's basically what you do in engineering. There's compromises in everything. You can't make it perfectly safe, otherwise you're never going to get anything done. you
Right.
know, but you also want to make it cheap enough to where it's like, like it, you try to strike the balance between all those things where it's like, okay, this is pretty safe, pretty cheap, and still also allows efficiency. Because you can't have all of them at once. That's impossible.
Yeah.
But again, the people who would know best how to do that are the people who do it. you know,
Right.
they're the ones that have
Makes
the
sense.
insider knowledge. It's like, so yeah, to me, it's like, I think it would benefit the best system would be an organization that is like a society of people in that field who all come together and share information, like trade secrets and things like that, and the knowledge and stories and stuff. And maybe there's like, hey, this is a real big thing. We probably ought to talk about, because we're noticing this dangerous thing, and it's kind of a
Mm.
concern. So maybe we should change protocol.
I wonder. I wonder if a system like we were talking about earlier, where there's like a centralized place that distributes charity funds, right? Um, and combine that with like, you know, billionaires, buying up the IP so that that particular person is accommodated monetarily, and the rest of the world can enjoy stuff for free or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Or cheap.
yeah, like with music though, um, kind of to get back to the piracy thing,
Mm-hmm.
like the music industry is like in a weird state right now
Yeah.
after COVID and with streaming and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The whole field has changed, and concerts are getting stupidly expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it wouldn't be such a bad idea to have a similar centralized arts um, philanthropy
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing where people could donate their money to that, and whatever is like popular, they funnel money to that artist so that they can keep their tour costs right around where they used to be,
Mm-hmm.
so that people can still go enjoy the show and feed more money to their artists that they want to see.
Well,
You know, like,
a lot of the ticket prices, well, it really comes down to Ticketmaster. They kind of rule the roost. And well, there's other problems, of course, as well. But it is there really isn't a competitor to Ticketmaster, and it's unfortunate that large artists don't just say, well, okay, my tickets are going to be sold on my website and not on Ticketmaster. I'm not going through any of these companies. Here it is. This is the price you pay. That's it. And it's not something you could trade, right? It's like
yeah,
tied to you, like it's some kind of NFT or something, where like you buy a ticket, it's your ticket. You can't sell it. You could dispose of it, and then it just that seat will be empty. But you
yeah,
can't sell it. And
yeah.
you would see prices come down, because I know a lot of artists are really pissed off about that. Uh,
Mm,
and, and again, this is an opportunity for people like Taylor Swift or whoever, like big people who carry a lot of pull. They have
yeah.
a lot of gravity behind them, and they can affect change if they really want to.
There are there are artists and there are competitors to Ticket Bastard.
Mhm.
Um, the, certain artists like Stabbing Westward, for instance.
Mhm.
You know, whenever I bought a ticket of theirs, it was through, I forget, Eventim or something like that.
Mhm.
One of the competitors, and it's still $30 or something.
Yeah.
Like it's still kind of like what it always was
Mhm.
to see Stabbing Westward.
Yeah.
And other bands like Megadeth are like getting a little more expensive, but more like 70 or $80 range. You know,
And that
like it's still nowhere near these like hundreds and thousands and stuff like that.
thousands. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think
and
that's
that's just
reasonable
ridiculous.
for a particular artist. I mean, if it's just some folk artist and their whole kit is them like with an acoustic guitar on a stage and a mic, like, all right, well, you could expect the tickets to be cheap. But if it gets big, right? Like they have pyrotechnics and laser light show and it's just crazy. Like, okay, yeah, I mean, I'd pay for more for that.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
certainly worth more money because it's more show. Um,
Yeah.
and so it's yeah, but when it's like $30 to $100, that's a fair price for a ticket to a concert. That's pretty
Yeah.
fair, I would say.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's one of those things where I think the music industry as a whole, like as in the artists themselves, need to come together, almost like so there's a bunch of YouTubers who got tired of YouTube's policies getting in the way of them making the videos that they want, the content that they want to make. Um, and so they created their own streaming service.
Hmm.
There's like Nebula is one of them. There's two of them that I can think of. In fact, you can get like a subscription for like $12 a year to both of them, and they have like professional level content,
Huh.
which to me is I that is so cheap. That's a couple of coffees from Starbucks, and that gets you
Yeah.
an entire year of viewing high quality content that isn't restricted by YouTube's policies. Which
Hmm.
that's and that a lot of these people, it's like one of them, he it's like a history focused channel talking about like the world wars and things like that and talking about the history. Well, YouTube doesn't like it when you say certain things or include footage of combat or whatever,
Hmm.
even if it's like relevant to the educational process. Like you have to see this to understand what I'm talking about. Or maybe you're just I don't know, illustrating what things look like or whatever. Yeah, that can get you into hot water.
Some of the blame for this has to go to the people, though,
Yeah.
when it comes to like YouTube stuff, because like all these restrictive things that YouTube and Facebook and all these places do is to prevent themselves from getting sued by overly sensitive people. Like
Mm-hmm.
if something bothers you, don't watch it.
Yeah.
But instead, they're like, I'm going to sue YouTube.
It's
I'm going
just
to sue Netflix. I'm going to sue Facebook. You
mhm.
know, like,
Because my
stop
feelings
doing
were
that shit. Stop
yeah.
it. Just stop it. Like, if you're offended, that's on you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
nobody else is responsible for that. Like,
No,
people don't have to walk on eggshells because you're offended by something.
exactly. The only time that I would say there would be a case to be made by being offended by something you've seen is when somebody is specifically targeting you, right? They're singling you out and
Right,
making a
right.
big scene out of you. Like, oh, Eric Rosenblatt, this big, like Mr. Beast does a
Right. I mean,
scathing
it's fine
video
to
about me.
restrict libel, but like
Yeah.
restricting certain words or images,
Mm-hmm.
like even nudity. Like,
Yeah.
there's no reason there shouldn't be nudity on YouTube,
Yeah.
you know?
There's no
But
reason. Well, and here's the thing, they have the algorithm in place. It's possible. Not only can they identify the general content of a particular video, which they can categorize, but
mm,
like you as a content creator could say, yes, there's nudity, there's profanity, there's war, like combat footage, there's blood, whatever. There's uncomfortable things. You can add those in, and if you're a person who's sensitive to that and you don't want to see any of that, well, you can restrict the things. Like
yeah.
you can go with the YouTube's algorithm and be like, oh yeah, maybe there's a whole list of things, and you could check and uncheck those things. So here's the things I want to see or
Mm,
don't want to see, and then yeah, you only see the things you want to see. Boom, problem solved. But
yeah.
but people like
And that's not even too much work. It's
no,
just, again, like greed. These are people trying to find their cash cow
yeah,
and ruining the experience for the rest of the world, literally.
yes. Yes,
Like,
exactly. Well, and they're also like crusaders. Like
mm,
they're not making any money, but they maybe there's a, I don't know, something missing in their life, and they feel like they gotta get out there and like,
virtue signal.
yeah, exactly. Like that I think is the driving force behind a lot of that.
Yeah.
Uh, well,
Yeah.
it's like,
Any kind of reward system, or, like anything that like brings up their dopamine, whether
mhm,
it's, being seen as like a social justice warrior and that
mhm,
gives them a tingly feeling, or getting a bunch of money and that gives them a tingly feeling,
yeah,
those are the driving factors.
mhm,
And if people would just kind of stop and think, like, what am I doing? Does it make sense? Is it going to benefit me at the expense of the entire world? Like, maybe care about those things. I don't know.
mhm.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think other people need to push back against that. We need more shame in the world, where people who do stupid things like that and just for their own, I don't know, whatever moral benefit, we need to shame them. They need to feel
mhm,
shitty for doing that. More and more, that needs to happen. Like, hey, like you're saying, if you're offended, just turn your back, just go somewhere else. Don't keep watching, and don't complain. Like, because you know what? Maybe this content is perfectly acceptable for other people. Like, if I want to watch history, you know, documentaries about World War II, I don't want it to be filtered or cleansed of all negative things, because war is fucking terrible. That's an
right.
important part of the historical aspect of talking about something like World War II. Is, yes, a lot of awful things happen. We need to be talking about those. Maybe you don't start with little kids. Maybe little kids could get kind of a surface level understanding of it. But as you get older, once you hit like your teenage years, sure, yeah, show people the horrors of war and
Right.
talk
Well,
about some of the really less comfortable things.
the inadvertent effect of censoring out things like that is that you miss the important message
Mm-hmm,
and you lose the invaluable lesson
mm-hmm.
of, like, we don't want to repeat this.
Yes.
And I kind of wonder if we're seeing the world the way it is now because we filter so much ugliness out of our daily lives,
Well, this is definitely by design, and not like mustache twirling, uh, cigar smoking people in a dark room design necessarily, but by cleansing the information of anything negative, it it makes whatever warfare or combat or military operation that's going on, it makes it more easily justifiable to the public, because they don't
Right.
see how
Right.
awful it was. It's like, the Vietnam War was kind of just seen early on as just like, well, this is going on over there, until film footage of like actual combat and horrific things got back to the States and got published, and people saw that and they're like, oh man, what are we doing? What
Yeah.
are we doing? And that's important, because, well, that was not a justified war at all. um
Do they still show the miracle of life in sex ed? I wonder.
I maybe
Because
maybe
I wonder how much that was helping, you know, young girls be like, oh wow, that vagina is getting wrecked by that baby's head right now.
and that person is like
You know,
screaming
yeah.
in pain.
Um, stuff like that. If you start filtering that out, you know, just try to imagine the butterfly effect of that.
Sure.
Um,
Well, and I remember when I was like in high school, well, it was only girls. It should have been everybody. But they like, part of the sex ed class and whatnot was like, you had to carry around like a weighted, like a bag of flour or something like that as a
uh,
kid, all day,
yeah.
every day, carry it around. and there was all these procedures you had to do, and like, and that's important because it's like people don't realize the implications of that, like what kind of that represents, like the responsibility that represents. This is not just a casual thing you kind of, oh, I guess I have a kid now. No, this is a responsibility for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. Nor is childbirth too, of course. That's another thing. Like, hey, maybe only do that if you're kind of serious about it. I mean, the technology to make that not a thing.
Well, and the parents of these people getting pregnant should probably try really hard, no matter how tempted they are to help, to be like, I didn't choose to have that child.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you did or not, it's still your responsibility. Like, like you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because too many times I feel like, the kid will just be like, I don't want to give up the baby, but what am I going to do? And they'll be like, oh, it's okay, sweetie, we'll help you. And it's like, well, that's kind of the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, the parents come in to save the day, basically. Which
like it's great for the kid, sure.
Oh, of course.
Don't get me wrong, but
it's an important
what that
consideration.
does in terms of like expectations and
well,
the ability to see reality.
It sets a cultural precedent too, to where because all it takes is a few rumors and stories to travel around school about something really awful happening because somebody had a kid, to where people like think twice and they're like, maybe that's not such a good idea. So even if it results in a few kids having a kind of a miserable existence, that benefit prevents more kids from having a miserable existence.
Yeah. Like I remember, 20 years ago or so, like when we were roommates, I was just a few years out of high school, and a lot of my friends, female friends, were becoming moms. And I remember noticing, well, it's kind of odd how often they're out at the bar or out drinking with us. Like, who's taking care of the kid? I mean, it was great to hang out with them and everything, and I would have missed them had they not been there. But at the same time, like, don't you have like a huge, massive responsibility?
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Well, and not judging, but I'm judging.
That too is it's really important for human development, to have that connection with your parents when you're growing up. It's constant connection, and when people toss the kid to the parents or whatever, or grandparents or whoever, and go out and do their thing and ignore the kid, or play video games. I've seen that happen all too often, where people get tied up and they just ignore the kids because, well, this particular game, they can't be bothered to hang out with the kid. Oh yeah, kid, just have it. Here's your tablet. Go ahead and watch YouTube Kids or something like that. That severely affects the development of a child. They're going to grow up to be, they're going to have problems. I'll just say that. And then that is not just me saying that. There are actual studies that prove that.
I do worry about the next generation. And I know that makes me sound like an old guy, but yeah, it's true. Like,
this like the current young generation of kids is the first one to be born into a world where it's common to have screen time, like, available at all times.
Right. Like their parents are addicted to phones,
But at least like the parents started off not having that. So they have kind of a baseline point, whereas the kids have that. So there's nothing to go back to. This is all they know. And they're shoved into a world that is carefully crafted algorithmically to trap you.
Oh yeah.
And what is going to be the product of that? I have no idea, but it won't be good. It will not be good. I mean, I could see it in like teenagers now who have almost zero attention span. They can't even sit and listen to a whole song, let alone an entire album.
Or an episode of Kitchen Sink My
Yeah,
Crust. So they'll never hear us talking shit about
exactly. Yeah.
it.
Well, and it makes me sad because it's like, well, there's a lot of promise. There's a lot of opportunities that exist, and they're going to miss out on it because they're preoccupied with things that waste their time and waste their life away. I mean, our parents said that about video games, but even back then, I remember video games were kind of a thing that you do with your friends for a little while, and then you go out and ride your bikes around the neighborhood or goof off and stuff like that. I mean, you still spend a lot of time with actual face to face.
my my dad, my dad liked video games more than I did, and um, I always remember him uh, when I was a kid commenting on how, you know what, like I I don't know why these things get such a bad reputation, because there are skills that you're learning.
Mhm.
Like there's hand-eye coordination, which
Patience,
is super important. Yeah, yeah, patience, critical thinking in some cases,
mhm.
depending on what the game is. Like
Problem
you've got to like
solving.
figure out puzzles and stuff
Yep.
like that. Like it's not like your brain is going completely dormant.
Mhm.
Now, fast forward to today, the
Mhm.
types of games that people are playing are just like, swipe this over here and the game plays itself in the background and you earn tokens or
Yeah.
whatever. And then
A
like
lot of
ads are
modern
playing and yeah.
a lot of modern games, especially like the mobile ones, remind me so much of that TNG episode
Hmm.
called The Game, I think, where
Yeah.
Riker went to Risa and the little the brain altering game where it's like it basically plays itself.
Yeah.
And that kind of seems uh, how things are. I mean, there's still quite a big chunk of games that require quite a bit more skill, but not in the mobile world generally.
No, no, no. And that's I see it in my stepdaughter is like constantly playing those types of games.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife will be like, hey, can you come help me with this thing? She won't even respond. And then she'll be like, can you come help me with this thing? Yeah. She just keeps going.
Oh man. Well, and
It's
that's
like,
okay that
whew,
we had our
how
share of,
important is that
I
game?
know.
Like,
Well, we had our share of time wasting things back when we were kids, but it was
oh
different.
yeah.
It's very different, I think. And one of the like, okay, like when I was a kid, we had a TV with a Nintendo hooked up to it and an Atari 2600 and a TI 99 4A for a while. And then when we had a computer, the computer sat in one location and you would sit at the computer and do what you did, and then you'd walk away from it.
Right.
So if you went to play with your friends, you didn't have the computer coming with you. Um, and that was like really important, the social connection. In fact, a lot of times friends would come over and we'd play Nintendo together.
Yeah.
You'd take turns playing a two-player game, and it was this huge social thing. Um, a little bit of escapism, but it was still you were connected with everybody in a visceral way. But now, yeah, everybody's got a phone, and there's all these mobile apps that games and things like that that people just take with them, and they're designed to draw you in, and they don't provide any kind of benefit at all. Like you don't get what you were saying your dad was talking about. Really, you really don't. Maybe a little bit of hand-eye coordination, but not a lot of problem solving. That's for sure.
No,
Um,
no,
there's no game that's really difficult that I've seen.
no. And yeah, I mean that's a shame. Like look, what you're saying about like sitting in a static location in order to play these games, I think that is important. And the fact that we broke away from that, thanks Snake.
Think, yeah.
Like,
That's
um,
true.
like that has killed a social skill, I think,
Mhm.
because I mean, I remember when I was a kid, one of my friends, every time he had a birthday, he would have a video game tournament.
Nice.
And a group of friends would come over and we would each go into his bedroom with his mom, play the game, get however many points. And meanwhile, the rest of us are just hanging out and being social in the living room. And then, like, there's a winner at the end, and woohoo, and you win a Lego set or something. And,
Mhm.
like, there was like a social element built around the
Yeah.
video game.
Hmm.
Like, and it was even like rewarding and
Hmm.
fun. And eh, you just don't have that anymore. It's
No.
the rewarding part, of course, is there. The dopamine is coming from, like, oh, look at all these points I'm getting, or these whatever's I'm collecting.
Achievements of some sort.
Yeah, like it definitely triggers all that stuff in the brain, but it's not taking any work anymore.
Yeah. And that I think, and it also is disconnected from the social side of things.
Hmm.
Because well, consider this: you have a phone; it's designed for personal use, right? The whole entire thing. You can't really have a bunch of your friends watching you play a mobile game. I mean, I suppose you could. There could be like a linked game in some way that you could all be playing together, but nobody does that. They're just doing their own thing in their own little world that is a tiny little window into this world that is really unshareable, and it kind of boxes you in. Because when we were kids, there was the TV with the Nintendo or Super Nintendo, and everybody could see it at once. um,
Yeah.
you'd sit around and play a game, and maybe it was a single player, but everybody was all, you'd take turns or whatever you did, or just watch somebody try to accomplish something. That was
Yeah.
fun enough.
Now
But
it's jump
again,
on Twitch and watch me play Farmville.
mhm, I know
Fucking
it's
Farmville. Oh.
yeah. I don't know. Although I guess this is a bit of a tangent, but I think it's connected. There's
Mm.
definitely a thread going through here. Um,
Yeah.
Going back to
I mean,
information.
that's kind of an instance of free information being a problem.
True. Yeah, yeah. Maybe things being a little too free. But then again,
Yeah.
like, why are
It's
these
not like
games?
useful information though, but it's
Yeah.
where do you draw that line? Yeah. Hmm.
Oh, man. I think, I don't know. I still believe that knowledge and information should be shared. And that's where,
Hmm.
like, libraries, again, libraries should be a thing, because you have the world at your fingertips there. All the collected knowledge that they could collect is there for free. You can sit there and read a book. No one's charging you any money. You could check a book out. No one's charging you any money. You check it out, you bring it back, you check out another one. Um, Actually, that's something that's relevant to what we were just talking about. How many people, how many kids read books, like physical books?
Hmm.
I would venture to guess very few, and very infrequently if they do. 'Cause I remember
Right.
probably when you were a kid, certainly when I was a kid, we had the summer book reading program.
Yeah.
Like, it was almost like a contest that you'd have with your friends. Like, how many books could you read during the summer? And
I, yeah, I've always enjoyed, like, I go through phases now in my adult life where I'll read for a while and then not for a
mm,
long while also. But I mean, I taught myself to read.
mhm,
Like, I loved it that much that I was like, oh, I got to figure out how to do this.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
super
and you used
cool.
to have, on PBS, you had Reading Rainbow with LeVar Burton,
Hmm.
like encouraging reading and making, like, painting it as something amazing and fun. And I mean, yeah, I was a kid during that time, and it really
Yeah.
did. It was nice, and they share books. There was kind of like a book report section where kids would talk about a particular book that they read. Um, and
Yeah.
that was something we used to have to do in school is,
And that was all free.
yeah.
PBS, public
Yep.
television.
Uh-huh.
Like you had LeVar Burton's Reading Rainbow, you had Bob Ross painting, you had
Mhm.
Commander Mark showing you how to draw
Yeah.
things. Like,
Mhm.
oh, Commander Mark was the shit.
Yeah.
Like, like he had such a great way, like with all these aliens and futuristic murals and stuff, but he would teach you like the jargon too
Yeah.
and the techniques and stuff like
Yeah.
foreshortening and
Mhm.
make it look closer and further away by
Well,
doing this and
and his methodology was so great because it made it feel like you were learning this arcane knowledge.
right,
That this like,
you're thinking like in 3D as
yeah,
a kid,
and
and
made it fun. It wasn't
yeah,
like laborious to learn to draw.
right,
And there were a lot of other shows too on PBS. And people will point to, well, it was all government funding and da da da. Well, actually, no, it still exists today, and the government funding is really tiny. It's
yeah,
mostly philanthropic organizations and donations from
telethons.
telethons. Yeah,
Mhm.
yep.
Yeah,
NPR, same thing. I think NPR receives their budget. Like only 10% of their budget comes from government funding.
telethons actually, that was a pretty legit way to keep information free if you
Mm-hmm.
think about it, because they weren't completely boring. Like
Mm-mm.
they would make some effort to entertain you or
Yep.
provide you like behind the scenes information or
Yep.
interviews, with like
Well,
like
you
Red Dwarf always had
Red
these
Dwarf. I
telethons.
was thinking, like, remember the Red Dwarf one where
Hmm.
Chloe Annette came to like Seattle,
Hmm.
and to like help push their telethon they were having. So that's like, hey, that's really special.
Yeah.
And it was like they would show a bunch of Red Dwarf. And then I also too, I think if you donated, there were a couple of different tiers where you get like a mug or a mouse pad or some little trinket that
Yeah.
you could say, hey,
Hmm.
this represents that donation. Even though, of course, yeah, you donate $50, you get like a $2 mouse pad, but still, it's a Red Dwarf mouse pad. That's cool.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Like
that with a lot of,
stuff like that. If there were more things like that, if there were more TV channels, even on cable, that were telethon based,
mm-hmm,
especially nowadays, like you could even repeat the same telethons and still have a call center
yeah,
to receive funds. It's not like, like not like you need to constantly be producing,
mm-hmm,
a great deal of effort
yeah.
into that sort of thing. Eh,
Well,
that would make a lot of sense, actually.
radio stations have done that. Like KNHC, I think they did that. Um, like there's a couple different stations locally that I can think of where they would have these kind of radiothons, essentially trying to raise money. But also included would be a bunch of extra stuff that maybe you wouldn't otherwise hear. Um,
The So, just as an example, the generation that came after us
mm,
kind of doesn't even know what PBS is. Like, I had a PBS shirt
mm,
when I was in college, and a kid that was, I don't know, maybe like 10 years younger than me
mm.
was like, "What's that?" I was like, "Seriously?"
Dude,
Like,
PBS, like Channel 9 and 20.
even if you don't watch it, you should know what it
Yeah.
is. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, it was, and that, see, maybe that also speaks to some of this where the information is coming from different places. Um, but like, yeah, because I remember coming home from school, there were a couple PBS shows that I loved and I would watch, or, you're homesick, and typically PBS in the middle of the day would show cartoons, and
mm,
stuff. Interesting. And Bob Ross, of course, was a staple.
yeah,
Um, and
they
shows,
had Sesame Street and
yeah,
uh,
Mr.
uh,
Rogers.
321 Contact
Yep.
with with MathNet and
MathNet, yeah.
Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider, oh yeah.
Um, that was a great show.
There were some really good shows.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I remember like being a kid and totally having a crush on Gabby from Ghost Rider.
Well, I think that was pretty common, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you also had shows like Where in the World's Carmen Sandiego?
Yep.
That
Learn
one,
about geography.
yeah.
And yeah, stuff like that definitely helps. Video games, to go back to that.
Hmm.
My dad and I always loved to play Uncharted Waters,
Yeah.
where
Hmm.
you would sail around the world in the 1500s and stuff
Hmm.
and trade spices and fight pirates and, work your way up the ranks with whatever country you paid loyalty to
Yeah.
and discovered new lands and stuff. But to navigate, you had latitude and longitude, which
Hmm.
is what they went by back then. And I remember in seventh grade geography class, somebody was like, or the teacher was up at the board like, can anyone tell me uh, where Lisbon, Portugal is?
Hmm.
And I raised my hand and I was like, 47 degrees north, 15 degrees east or something, or west or something. I just like whipped out the latitude, longitude, and he was like,
That's
like, how
great.
did you know that?
Well, yeah, there were a lot of great games. The Island of the Dr. Brain series was a good one. Um,
Mm,
there obviously Carmen Sandiego. There was a whole series there. And Paul, the big one that kind of kicked off the great educational game series, the Oregon Trail,
oh yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
even to this day people still play the original Apple version, and I think Target had a handheld game made,
There's also a card game
a card
version.
game. Yep.
Yeah,
And there were a whole bunch of great educational games. It's like they were fun, but you were learning at the same time.
yeah.
And that's the way you
Well,
teach people.
you definitely learned that you can die from having diarrhea.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
so I mean, like that's pretty valuable.
Oh,
Uh,
sure. Well, and it does immerse you into the time period, and maybe it doesn't have all the information, but if it gives you like it plants the seed of curiosity, you
yeah,
might go on to learn more about that.
yeah.
And that's so valuable.
Well, and I remember as a kid being like, I had that aha moment. It's like, you have died of dysentery. What is that? And
Hmm.
the teacher in the computer class,
Hmm.
um, where we just played that game, uh, it was like, hey, it's basically like a really bad diarrhea. It's like, wait, you could die from diarrhea?
Yeah.
Like, and then of course I was like, well, why? And it's like, oh, dehydration. It's like, oh, well, I guess if I have diarrhea, I better drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
Like that's super important. And I learned it from a fucking video.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that goes to I guess illustrate like the how difficult things were back then. Uh,
Yeah.
it's yeah, well, and even just crossing a river, I remember that was a big deal. You would
Mm-hmm.
lose everything because you didn't prepare correctly for crossing a river. Um, yeah. Oh, that's it's really important that knowledge and information be available to everybody.
Yeah.
And it's to me, this is going back to kind of the very beginning, that holding on to that basically stifles development and evolution and improvement, whether it be just knowledge, general knowledge, or scientific knowledge, or medical knowledge, or engineering, whatever. Like it's it's a bad thing to keep secrets overall, like for humanity, for all of us. And that's where it goes back to imagine the world if knowledge was shared and not sold. How
Yeah.
different would things be today if that, like, if it was a sharing kind of thing? Like, how many amazing discoveries are just sitting collecting dust on a shelf or on some random server somewhere, never to see the light of day, probably to be forgotten forever? Like,
Right.
world changing innovations or discoveries.
Well, yeah, like early on in like season one, maybe a little bit of season two, we had that side channel
Mm-hmm.
KSU
Yeah.
where we would teach what we know
Mm-hmm.
for free. Um,
Yep.
and recently I remembered that we had that because I was creating that new playlist for your survival stuff, and I was like, oh, we had like a survival series.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course I branched out and I was starting to think of like, well, there's like other things we've talked about that aren't like prepping related necessarily, but are super crucial for survival. And
Yeah.
so like the playlist actually became pretty big,
Nice.
uh,
Mhm.
even though there's only two Tacoma prepper videos so
Yeah,
far.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing that I feel. I want, I've learned a lot through research or failure.
Yeah,
And I think it's very important to share that information. What good does it do me to keep it to myself? Um, I, you know, I want more people to be able to survive or thrive than currently exist. That does, it helps me and it helps everybody. So, yeah, I don't know. I think there's a very limited justification for secrecy when it comes to information. Very, very limited.
yeah. If you didn't sink a bunch of money into it, or it's not going to make you filthy stinking rich, maybe just think about giving it away.
Yeah.
Um, like if you
Well,
come up with
here's
something, give
okay.
it away.
I got an idea then. Well, at least maybe a starting point. Um, Maybe a patent. If patents are a thing, a patent can only be maintained if you're continuing to sell it, right? You're making the product and selling it. But if you try to apply for a patent and then you don't sell it, the patent just vaporizes. Like, it's no longer a thing. The information becomes public domain or something like that. Because obviously you have no intent on profiting from it. You just want to keep it down there so it's yours, but no one
Yeah.
else can see it. That might be something to consider. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it makes a hell of a lot more sense than the way it operates now. Like, if you have a copyright on something and you're not using that, like Mickey Mouse, right? You have a copyright on Mickey Mouse, but you just don't ever make any Mickey Mouse movies or shows or product or whatever. Well, okay. I guess you haven't done it in a few years. You must not care enough to do that. So
Right.
everybody has it now. It's theirs. It's free for everybody.
Wasn't there like a huge chunk of time where there was no new Mickey stuff?
I think there was, yeah.
Like when we were kids, I think there was
Mhm.
never any new Mickey stuff or Bugs Bunny stuff, or like it was all super old shit that we were watching.
Yeah,
It
and
was
like,
old for our parents even,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. Well, and some of it has become public domain now. There's a lot of old things that are now available.
Steamboat Willie is public domain, but
Yeah,
not Mickey, right?
Winnie the
That's a
Pooh.
sneaky one.
I know. Well, the Mickey from Steamboat Willie, you can you can use that likeness, but not the modern likeness, basically. Like, come on, guys. People don't understand. Like, it it doesn't. Well, okay. Here we go. I've got a good example. Axanar, the indie project, the Star Trek project that's been going on for 10 years, and they've had legal battles up the wazoo trying to keep it going. And finally now I think they're in post-production at the time of the recording on 2 episodes that they put together. But it took them 10 years because of all the bullshit they had to go through dealing with the companies. I think it was CBS and Paramount.
Yeah.
And like, because they didn't want this project to proceed. Well, okay, I don't understand that, because the only thing that's going to do is generate more excitement around Star Trek. It's not going to take away from the stuff that Paramount's doing.
There's already precedent for fan fiction with the novels.
Yeah.
So, like, why are novels okay? And like a filmed series is not. Like,
I know, it doesn't make any sense. Well, and Star Wars is another one that has a huge fan following, and people have made their own fan fiction and short films and all kinds of things. They haven't really gotten the same kind of ire, corporate ire, that Star Trek has, but I'm sure it's happened. But like, why?
probably more so now that Disney acquired them.
Yes. Back when Lucas was kind of in holding the reins, I don't think there was.
Yeah, like when Lucas was running things, he made the ballsy move to say all fan fiction is canon.
Yeah.
Which is like, you have no way to regulate whether or not they don't contradict one another.
Yeah, but okay, I'll tell you what. There is something.
They're such big fans that they're like, oh, I better do my research.
There's a thing about Star Wars fans where, oh yeah, you think Star Trek is bad when it comes to nitpicking and like all the minutia and details about the world and stuff. Oh yeah, Star Wars is 10 times that. And so it self-regulates basically, because the fans won't allow something that is a contradiction or is kind of like outside the realm or whatever. They won't stand for it. So you don't.
That's a good point. That's a good example of self-regulation. Is Star Wars novels.
Yeah. Well, you of course you would be free to write whatever you want, but the things that suck, right? If you write something that's kind of like taking a dump on the Star Wars universe, the fans will come down hard on you, and that publication will not go anywhere. But if you do something good, it'll flourish and get all kinds of attention. And see, but that's the thing. What's cool about that, and this is what I don't understand about, say, Paramount and CBS, is all these fans creating these kind of side projects and stories and everything. It creates new opportunities for new stories. Like, I think the reason why there was pushback originally against the Axanar project is because of Discovery, because Discovery kind of is in the same timeline. And so they were like, well, wait a minute, we're about to do our own thing. We can't have this. But it's like, well, it isn't like 5 people and a little tiny bubble. We're talking about galactic proportions of there's room for so many stories that it doesn't matter. Like, people will love Axanar and they would love Discovery if either were good, right? You tell a good story, people are going to love it. Even if you're telling the same story from a different perspective. I don't get it. I don't understand that.
Well, maybe when they decided to make the ship Discovery be completely top secret, even to Starfleet themselves, maybe that's when Axanar finally got a chance.
Yeah, that could be.
Okay, now we have a way to explain why neither of these refer to each other.
Well, actually, I think there's kind of there's this sort of rumor going around now that Lower Decks is basically decanonized Discovery. There was an episode, I haven't seen it, but I guess people are like, well, they've kind of just said that like all the Discovery stuff was an alternate timeline, and it really coincide with the other one.
Yeah, I mean they made so many backpedaling adjustments to that show. They were like, "Oh, nobody liked the new Klingons." Well, now they all of a sudden look like regular Klingons, and then they were like, canon.
Yeah.
Oh, now instead of being before the original Star Trek, it's 1,000 years in the future, and
Mhm.
nobody knows about it.
Yeah. Well, okay. Here's the thing.
Okay.
This is like okay. Well, we're both pretty big Star Trek nerds, but I would say what would have made Discovery palatable to most Star Trek fans would be if they presented it as kind of like an alternate timeline from the beginning. If they're going to change a bunch of stuff, be like, hey, here's sort of like a what if tale that we're going to weave that's kind of related, but it's different. Like
Hmm.
this other thing that happened or could have happened. Um, I think people would be totally fine with it.
Right.
But
Well, I think a great idea would be like this dark timeline and somehow explaining how even though everything is evil, all the same people still came together somehow.
mm-hmm.
Like all this xenophobia and everything, yet all these alien races are still buddy buddy and
Well, and
happen to
Picard,
like come all together at the same
yeah,
time.
and Picard, of course. What if they kind of insinuated that was the like you remember in TOS the Spock with the goatee and like the evil universe? What if that was sort of like that universe, but told as a whole series? Because people would totally be into that. Like, why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
That just do that. That's all you got to do. You know, like you can preserve the legacy of the original Trek timeline and also do something on the side that's also interesting.
Yeah. I think they did that one actually really.
Yeah, it's one of those things that started off shitty but got good, kind of like Enterprise. Enterprise wasn't
Mm.
that good. The first season was like, but it got pretty good. Well, and
Yeah.
even TNG, I still like season 1 and 2. I think they're pretty all right,
Mm.
especially given where they were starting from. Like the block of time between the original series and TNG, um, that's a long time. So I can forgive them for trying to find their footing within how
Yeah.
to create a series again. And obviously by season 3, it was a banger.
Right.
And just kept on banging the whole time. Uh, yeah. It, but here's the thing: they didn't try to really rewrite history within their own world with
Right.
NG. It was just kind of almost a natural transition into oh yeah, that's about what you'd expect, how you'd expect things to be. Although I would like to have seen more people wearing the scant that they had in season 1. Like, remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what happened to that? That would have been cool because it's like kind of a universal uniform that anybody could wear. Um,
Yeah, that was like an interesting very early sort of classical Star Trek look at the
mhm.
controversial stuff of like cross dressing.
Well, and they would try to defy convention,
Yeah.
little bits and pieces in a way that most people could swallow. Like
Mm.
you just casually see people walking around, like guys and girls walking around in the scant, and they didn't make a thing of it. It was just like, oh yeah, some people wear this because it's comfortable.
Yeah.
It's just another uniform that you can wear.
I mean, it's not any different than a kilt. I mean, it would
Yeah.
have been great if the original series had that idea and had Scotty
Mhm.
wearing a kilt.
What missed opportunity there, man?
Right.
That would have been cool. Yeah. Oh man. Well, they could only do so much at the time, I think. It's like they
Hmm.
were already pushing a lot of limits with a lot of stuff. So, and they, and they did set the stage for a lot of change in that regard, uh,
Right.
which they carried on nicely with TNG, even the series that followed. Well, less so when you get into like Enterprise and Voyager. I think they became more just kind of another Star Trek series.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. Voyager was the first to kind of like be super lackluster. Like it
Yeah.
was just Gilligan's Island in space. And
Yeah, kind of. I didn't dislike it. I just
no, no,
didn't really feel the fizz, I guess.
yeah, I went back and watched all of it at one point. Um, because I dropped off after a couple seasons when it was coming out, but
It did jump the shark a little bit.
yeah. And actually, I still to this day, I don't think I've seen absolutely every episode of TOS.
Really?
Yeah, just because like that one didn't really grip me so much.
Mhm.
There was this like the really good episodes were super good, of course,
Yeah.
but like I it felt like there was a lot of filler, and I was just and
Well, there was, and it has to be noted, I suppose, that at the time it was the first Star Trek.
right,
So they were kind of breaking new ground there, and
yeah,
doing something that really hadn't quite been done before. Um, so, when you had TNG come out, you had all the TOS series. You also had a bunch of the TOS based movies
yep,
under their belt already. So they kind of had like an established structure to build off of. So it's like, yeah, it's no wonder that TOS was a little weird at times and kind of all over the place. Um, it's still a fun series. Um, it, yeah. Well, okay, but see, this is going into kind of the whole controlling IP and stuff. That there's so many that uh, there are so many things that are suggested throughout all of those series. These tangential storylines that could be explored, like
hmm,
what happened to Moriarty, that kind of thing.
yeah,
That, or I mean, there's a whole shit ton of them. All these things, like, oh well, what about the warp drive breaking the fabric of the universe or something like that? They never talk
yeah,
about that.
yeah, the two-dimensional beings or whatever,
Yeah.
like,
Or yeah, beings they encounter that are never seen from or heard from again. Um,
mhm,
there could be a whole entire series built around just that one particular thing. Like, I'd love to see a
yeah.
series that is just Risa. It's nothing but every episode takes place on
It's
Risa.
only on Showtime.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, and that goes back to what we're talking about the control of things like nudity and whatnot and sexual stuff. um, it doesn't make any sense. Like, well, it should be completely allowed, but then again, like, okay, if you set up an account and decide on what you want to see and what you don't want to see. Maybe
Yeah.
you set up an account for your kids and you're like, I don't want them to see a bunch of war footage and people being blown up, or they don't need to see a bunch of tits and dicks and whatnot. um, Not yet. So you can restrict that. um, it,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just, man. Well, get us onto Star Trek and we'll talk for half an hour about that. And
Yeah.
I'm sure there's, well, it's a classic trope of like Star Trek or Star Wars, and I always say both
Hmm.
for different reasons. I like them both. And but like, I'm sure there are Star Wars fans who are thinking a lot of the same things we're thinking. It's like there needs to be an allowance for fans to craft their own side stories or whatnot, or maybe alternate history things like, oh, what if the Death Star didn't get destroyed? in episode 4. Like,
Yeah,
how
right.
different would things have turned out?
Well, and what? How terrible would it be to the conglomerates that own these IPs? You know, to be like, okay, let's hear out your idea, and then if it sounds like a good idea, just hire them
Yeah,
to like create the thing under the license of Star Trek or Star
that's
Wars.
exactly what I was thinking. Like the Axanar project, they had a decent budget, they had passionate cast and crew. Like they were balls to the wall, all in on making this thing, and they were going to make it great. Um, and and of course they got shut down. Well, why not? Hey, Paramount, why not be like, well, okay, we're not really so sure what the hell we're going to do with this Discovery series because it hasn't been made yet. But there's these people kind of making a similar timeline story, and they're already ready to go. Maybe, hey, just give them a couple extra $1 million and be like, you got
Mhm.
green light. We'll share in the profits. Win-win. Everybody wins.
Like there's already a lot of people like begging Paramount to make Star Trek Legacy,
Yeah.
which continues off of Picard,
Mm-hmm.
where Seven of Nine is the captain and
Mm-hmm.
Picard's son is in it and everything. And it's like they're kind of like, nah, maybe.
Well, it's like it's easy button. You have the money,
Right.
right? Just allow them
And
to do it and help them.
and the demand.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like Axanar, people have been like foaming at the mouth waiting for this for the last decade. It's like you don't see the interest, like how popular this is going to be, and you don't even have to like do anything. Just let these guys do their work, or do that and then say, well, here's some extra money and we'll sign a deal. So I don't know. Well, oh, and hey, you can monetize this too if you want to. And then we all win. And then, yeah, because there's so many fans who would totally, very dedicated people. And it's like, it blows my mind because you look at the people behind like modern Star Trek that are selected by the executives to head up these projects, and they don't care about Star Trek. They're not Star Trek fans. They don't know anything. They don't care to continue the legacy or maintain the universe. They're just like, I don't know. I guess I'm making a Star Trek show. What is Star Trek? And then they make a show. Like,
Yeah.
dude, you have millions of dedicated fans who would practically do it for free just to be involved in a Star Trek production.
Right.
Why not take advantage of that? It's this old way of thinking, I think, where
Yeah.
they're looking through the lens of like the 1920s or something at today.
Mm-hmm.
And well, one of the problems is when you do that, you get left behind because of innovation and societal changes and evolution. And
Yeah.
it's unfortunate because all they have to do, like I said, it's super easy, barely an inconvenience.
There's an infinite number of ways to go. Like you could have a Star Trek series that focuses, like follows the protagonists being
Mm,
Ferengi, for instance. You know, like it
yeah.
could be all about the Ferengi, and then you could also like tie stuff in. Like they might come across the ship from the the Naked Now and
Mhm.
the Naked Time, where you know there was like a distress beacon that's like stay away from this ship or whatever, and they're just like whatever. Like it looks like we could extract whatever from the hull and make a profit, and then they go and all of a sudden there's another like funny sex related
Yeah.
episode and it ties it all together. You know.
Ferengi, it would be really amusing. Lots of lobe rubbing.
Right.
But that would be, see, people would watch that.
Yeah.
There are so many, like I was saying before, there's so many tantalizing nuggets that were dropped and just left behind
Mhm.
That it's like, okay, somebody just has to pick that one up and go in that direction.
Well,
Oh, that's
and to open it up in a more progressive sense, like there's a lot of nudity in Star Trek culture that is just hinted at,
mhm.
or like crafty camera angles, like Betazoid weddings,
Mhm.
Ferengi women, things like that. That
The one where they were in the mud pool in the holodeck
Mhm.
with
Yeah,
Alexander.
yeah, like you could just show that,
Yeah,
like it's not gratuitous; it's part of the story.
no,
Like
exactly.
yeah,
And you'd be more free. Like there could be more free productions, as in like
Mhm.
freedom, like being able to realize things and visualize things that couldn't be done on, say, network television.
Right.
Um,
Well, they've already kind of ventured into that a little bit with like having cussing being start in Star Trek, and it's like,
yeah,
why wouldn't it be there? Like why would those words go extinct?
some
Like,
might, but what I'd love to see, and this is Battlestar Galactica did this, like new cuss words.
yeah,
Like there's a new cuss word. Nobody says,
Red Dwarf did that
yeah,
too.
yeah, exactly. Like there's a new one. Like, oh yeah, maybe occasionally you drop a regular F bomb, but there's this new one that's even more offensive
Mhm.
or something. And
Uh,
one of the things where if this information were in the open and this property was allowed to be explored and exploited in different ways, we'd be better off. Imagine how much Star Trek there would be if Paramount and CBS weren't a bunch of dicks.
yep.
Like, and I might almost be interested in some of the new stuff, but like the new stuff, it's like I'm looking at it and like, it's kind of lazy, sorta at times, and also at the same time, they're shutting down these passionate fans who want to make their own projects that are actually kind of good. Like, no, I'm actually kind of not watching it out of spite now.
Yeah.
it just it just hurts the whole thing, and I don't know. Man, I think, wow, how we've explored quite a few angles here,
Yeah, we have.
and it's all kind of connected too. Like Jesus, man, holy shit. Huh.
Well, I guess we're getting into movie length here. So
Almost, yeah. So I guess, well, we'll probably revisit some of the things we talked about in various ways, as we always do. But I'd love to hear people's comments on this. I mean, even if it's something simple as let's have an argument or a debate about Star Trek versus Star Wars, um, and why. That's the important
yep.
thing, is the why, and not, you can't just be like, well, I think this, well, I think that, I'm right, no, I'm right. Okay, well, justify your position.
Yeah.
I do that with DS9 all the time because that's my favorite Star Trek. And lots of people are like, what? No, no. But I can explain myself. There's a reason for it.
Why don't we just I wonder if Paramount would give us flack if we made a Star Trek radio show.
Ooh, maybe not.
Like total low budget.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's all imagination. So there's just voice
Yeah, that could be done
and sound
through
effects.
through a cast online as well,
Exactly.
from anywhere
Like
in the world.
we could do that on this channel.
Yeah,
Fan fiction Star Trek radio
that would
shows.
be
Like
super cool.
why don't we just do that? Because like if they sue us, then we at least get publicity.
That's
Yeah.
a good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. Well, and in general, when if it's not monetized, right, if it's just something you're doing as a fan
Mm,
project, the worst they could do is a cease and desist. Like, okay, you got to
yeah.
pull that. So That's basically it.
Yeah.
So I think it's worthwhile. And you know what happens when they do that too? The Streisand effect. People will have already downloaded it and they'll start spreading it around and then it will never die.
Mhm. Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm down. I think that'd be fun. Tell a story from, I don't know, who knows, maybe find some people that love writing scripts, who are Trekkies too, and put something
Well,
together.
especially if it operates in the Star Trek universe but doesn't use the Star Trek name. You
Yeah.
know, like refer to characters and stuff. Yeah, and
Mhm.
planets and whatnot. Um, just don't call it Star Trek, and they
Yeah.
really have no gripe. Like,
No, you don't, and especially if you don't get too specific about the information.
right?
But it's definitely a Star Trek show that takes
Yeah,
place within the Star Trek universe. It's just not called Star Trek, and it's not the Enterprise.
right.
It could even be. I would love to see. Well, that's something I love about the concept of lower decks. I've only seen a little bit, but I
Mm.
think it's kind of cool because it's sort of like an everyday sort of experience.
Well,
Uh,
and then there's like Galaxy Quest and Seth MacFarlane's.
yeah.
Um, I can't
Oh,
remember
the
the name.
what's that?
I can't remember the name of the show.
Oh, yeah. I see now. You've contaminated my memory.
Right. Yeah.
I'll remember
Shit.
it in a second.
But everybody like considers it Star Trek. That's
It's
not
very
Star Trek.
Star Trek. It's totally like
Yeah.
it completely feels like Star Trek,
Mhm.
and in a way could also be taking place within that universe.
Yeah.
Um, it- so that's kind of cool. That's an idea. Yeah, we should work on that. I'd love to do that, even if it's kind of an intermittent thing where when we can collect everybody together to do voice acting.
Yeah. Ah, man. Especially if, man, if we start doing this and we get Seth MacFarlane in, like,
Yeah,
that
stuff
would be
like
cool.
that does get noticed. By the way, people love indie projects,
Yeah.
especially something when it's like you get people who actually care about what they're doing to be involved in it,
Mhm.
and include a cool soundtrack and neat sound effects that are sort of Star Trek but kind of not. Well, especially if it's like taking place not with
The Orville. Ah,
the Orville. Yeah, I was going to say it starts with an O.
yeah.
Orville. Yeah, that's a
I was like,
great series.
the something totally unforgettable.
Hmm. Yeah. And even the Orville tackled some societal things too, but in
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
funny way. Uh,
Yeah.
very good series. Highly recommend that. And of course, Star Trek continues too. If you haven't seen that, you got to see it.
Mm.
And wait for Axanar to be released. That's going to be mind blowing. Oh my god. Well, it better be after 10 years. But it
Yeah.
would be cool because there's actually a place for radio shows like audio only stuff. Lots of people.
I dig that idea because
Yeah.
I loved listening to radio shows,
Mhm.
even though it was totally not our generation,
I know.
but
Same here. Well, I think it was King FM
mhm.
98.1 back in the day at night. So they played
uh,
classical music during the day, but at night,
Cairo AM
yeah,
or Como, one
I think, yeah,
AM 710, whichever
yeah, I can't remember now, but yeah, I remember
owned
that.
that every Sunday night and Saturday night, like Saturday night at midnight and Sunday at 9 or
Hmm.
10 p.m. or something.
And what's cool about that is it never goes out of fashion or style because it's like
Mhm.
you don't have to worry about special effects or anything.
Yeah, and they even produced their own new one.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
that 710 had their own series. I can't remember the name of that either. It's not
Hmm.
the Orville. Um, I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
But it was like a an old style detective
Hmm.
series, and it was super good.
Dude, what about like a Star Trek detective series?
Hell yeah.
Because they never really touched on that
There's so
much.
many genres that you could leak Star Trek into. Like,
Sure. Well, and there must be detectives in the Star Trek universe. You just
right.
what Picard playing Dixon Hill in the holodeck. That's all you got.
Like first episode, you go off of whatever happened with it, whatever the hell happened with the season finale of season one in Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh yeah.
Conspiracy, that episode. Like
Mm-hmm.
they just kind of were like, yeah, okay, that's done.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Exactly. That. Well, and that's what I'm saying. There's so many loose ends that could be tied up,
yeah.
and mysteries that could be solved or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and just new stuff too. Just stuff that doesn't exist necessarily canon, but could exist.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know Roddenberry painted the kind of a utopian vision of the future, but well, obviously, as we see, there's still criminals who do
Yeah.
bad shit. So wouldn't that be cool?
Right.
Like a bunch of space detectives going around and solving crimes. Actually, that's kind of similar to one of my favorite British space oriented shows, Star Cops, but it takes place just on the moon. Well, and Earth, but mostly on the moon. They're basically detectives and cops solving these weird crimes that happen. It was a very short-lived series, but that would be so cool in a Star Trek sense.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, and like as far as radio shows go, it would be also be cool to do um stuff that's like Earth centric. Like, what
Yeah.
is life on Earth like
Mm-hmm.
in the 24th, 25th century?
Yeah.
Like, that's touched on in an episode here and there,
Mm-hmm.
but never really explored or fleshed out. And you could even do something like it's being narrated by Jake Sisko,
Mm-hmm.
and as he's older and he's back on Earth, and
Or
like,
even just one that follows that particular angle.
yeah.
Well, like in Star Cops, most of it took place on the moon, but a lot of times they had to go to Earth because there was a connection to something
Mhm.
that happened on the moon. So now they got to go to Earth and do their detective work to try to figure out why this happened or who did that and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there could be a shit ton of connections to Earth. Obviously, if you're talking the Federation, um, Earth is the core of that. So naturally, if there's something going on, it could be partially connected to Earth.
Yeah.
That would be, oh my God, that would be amazing.
I
That
kind of want to start writing episodes for
I
this.
know. I know I do too. Oh man. Well, it's a matter of getting enough cast too. But again, if we do it this way, it could easily be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
We could have a cast of 100 people and
Yeah.
then just throw in all the stuff post production, music and sound effects and things like that.
Hmm.
Easy enough. I may or may not have a little bit of experience making sound effects. Oh
Yeah.
man.
Wow. I think that's an awesome idea.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And making it completely open. Because imagine this. There's like, it's okay. So again, going back to the sharing information and things being kind of public domain, I don't know if you've heard of the Backrooms.
No.
So it sort of started, I think, on either 4chan or Reddit as sort of just this kind of conversation about like liminal spaces and places that are kind of familiar but creepy at the same time. Maybe they look like there should be people there, but it's empty. And so some people took it upon themselves to make videos. I think Kane Pixels is the big one. So they make these videos about the experience of the back rooms, either people getting lost in there. Like basically the concept is you fall out of current time space into this other world that you can't get out of, that's like endless
Hmm.
hallways or whatever with spooky creatures and stuff. But there's also this angle of like government agents also kind of exploring. So but so there's the Kane Pixel side of things, but there's hundreds of other people who have made their own videos revolving around the Backrooms. There's even video games revolving around it now. And there's this whole lore and mythos that's being built by the community around this. And it's like nobody actually owns it. It's just a thing, and everybody does a little bit and puts a little bit into it. The SCP Foundation, too, that whole thing is another similar thing as well. Oh man, something like that. I love the idea of kind of planting a seed where other people also do their own parallel things, branching off and linking to the stuff that we're doing at the same time. That would be so cool. Oh man.
That just reminded me it would also be cool to have like a Star Trek themed horror series.
Yes. Oh man.
You know, like there's no reason people wouldn't still believe in ghosts and stuff like that in the 24th century. And so you could have like a I don't know, you know, like maybe Beverly Crusher funds the startup of a ghost hunting organization for obviously no particular reason.
Well, it could have been like an experience, of course, that led her to be interested in that.
Well, there's the running joke. She was like having sex with a ghost.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, and even in the show, they did have seemingly spiritual, ghostly kinds of things, but kind of explained it as potentially having a plausible scientific explanation. Now you could do that or leave it open-ended to where, well, we don't even know what that was because who knows?
Right.
That's another angle. I like the idea of detective stuff, but the horror stuff does also well, and the horror stuff and the detective stuff can actually connect.
That mix as well. Too. Yeah, like the Scooby-Doo thing.
Yeah. You go to solve a seemingly simple crime, and it turns out that there's more going on than you thought. That like, wait a minute, this is not just a simple murder. Something else is going on. Wow, that would be so cool. Oh man. Okay, we got to do this.
That's gold. Yeah,
we got to do this. So if anybody's still watching here, then we're planning on making this happen in one way or another.
If you've got ideas, let's collaborate.
Yeah.
Get in touch with us on Patreon.
Yeah. That'd be.
Maybe we could have a little like Star Trek donation tier or something.
Yeah, for sure. I love this idea. We need to make it happen somehow. And we need to create like a forum or something like that where these ideas can be fleshed out, and people can come and suggest themselves to be a part of it.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. Well, now that we're somewhat over typical movie length, but under other movie lengths, so we're long enough, but not too long.
We're feature length.
Yes. As Goldilocks would say, it's just right.